Come on. There we go. One more try. This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports. Hey everyone, and welcome to the Mac, Jack, and Jim Big Football Show. I'm your host, Mac. Up next to me, our football guru historian, Jack Hirsch. Below me right now, the Philly sports guy here to do a little gloating. I don't blame him. I'd be doing the same thing. And finally, the legend himself, two-time Super Bowl champion, Dallas Cowboy, Jim Jeffcoat. Good morning, guys. How y'all doing today?
Good morning. Good morning. Just came in from Austin. Checking on my daughter. She had knee surgery. Yeah. Just got in a couple minutes ago.
All right. And Jack, you're looking spry today. You got the Florida weather behind you, the balcony. Can barely see you. I mean, you look like almost like there's a halo around you or something. So how you doing this morning, Jack?
Yeah, good. I'll go out to jog when the show's over.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I got to do this show. I can't go out to run while it's still a little cool out. It's going to be close to 80 degrees by the time I'm out.
Right.
Oh, my goodness.
So let's get a few things out of the way before we start. First, I'm going to give you the Pags, you're not part of this because we really haven't been keeping track of you as much. I know you're up there close to us with percentages, but the final for the regular season is this. Jack, of course, let me see where you're at right now. Jack beat Jim Jeffcoat by one pick this year at the end of the regular season.
Congratulations, Jack.
Yeah, Jack. So Jack did win. I finished a distant third, and Pags, like I said, if we were keeping track of him and our producer Linda, they would be up in the mix right now. And Pickles, I think, would have won it all if we included him. So anyway,
let me say something. Jim should have won based on football knowledge, but Jim was more a homer. He would always go with the Cowboys no matter what. I would go against the Jets. That's what put me over the top.
Jack,
against the Jets.
The Cowboys only lost 4 games.
Yeah,
what,
but you
4 or 5, one of them.
Something like that. And I'm a homer too, Jim. You're right. I'm right with you, man. I picked with the Giants against my better judgment all year. So
and I pick Buffalo all the time too, Jack.
Yes, you do. Yes, you did. Folks, I'm gonna do this right now. This is for Pags, the giant crying towel. And right now
you gotta turn it over. You gotta
no, it looks perfect just like that.
They played upside down anyway. I can wear it as a bib too. That's another thing I can use it for. But anyway, Giants just got trounced. Shouldn't even have been playing the playoff game. Everyone's consoling me saying they had a good season, but to me, you're there. You got to win the game. There's one other thing I'm going to show Keith too. I got all his memorabilia back here. You remember Inflategate with Tom Brady? Well, this is the official ball. There, I got that from Tom Brady himself. We're good friends. I lie a lot too. So folks, there you go. That's all out of the way. So let's get into yesterday's games. Kansas City. If you didn't believe Patrick Mahomes was Superman, you might believe it now. He gets injured. He's hopping around on one leg, throwing touchdown passes, running with the ball, gets taken out. Henny goes in there, leads him on a drive all the way down and scores a touchdown, a 98-yard drive, the longest of the San Francisco this year. What can you say about San Francisco, guys? I mean, are they going to be the Super Bowl champion this year?
Kansas City, you mean, right? Matt?
Kansas City, sorry, Kansas City.
Yeah.
What do you think, Jim? Are they going to the Super Bowl this year?
I don't know, but they have issues on defense, and that's where you can get them at, on their defense. And Buffalo did beat them already.
Okay. Right.
So I think they're good. And Mahomes, that injury is no joke. And I told you that yesterday. I had the same injury in the vet. Matt Darwin of the Philadelphia Eagles cheap shotted me, clipped me, and my ankle collapsed like that. That's going to be painful.
Right.
You can do it because of the way the injury is. It's hard to shoot it up. It is hard to shoot that up. Those
Jim,
ligaments.
let me ask you, when you had that injury, did you remain in the game? Did you have to go to the locker room?
I remained in the game, but it was painful. And it was painful for a couple of weeks. And
Because
actually, the rest of the season. And that is a painful injury. Because you looked at it, his ankle collapsed.
Yeah.
He stretched all those ligaments. And obviously the technology is better these days and they can help him with it, but that's not easy, especially the way Mahomes plays. It's going to be tough to be as mobile.
Before we go on, Keith Engle joins us from TGI Sports, wearing his Yankees sweatshirt because the Patriots didn't play well at all this year, so he's showing his Yankee colors.
Wow,
we're moving towards baseball season. Yes, and
yes,
speaking
of Keith, you know what it is. He didn't show you. He has a crying towel for the New York Giants.
I saw it, and my cue to come in here was a cheap shot I got on Deflategate.
So he's going to take some shots at you.
Well,
let me ask you guys something. There's a value judgment that was made yesterday. Patrick Mahomes was begging Andy Reid to stay in the game in the first half when he had the injury, and Andy Reid, made him go to the locker room, made him take an x-ray, Andy Reid and the trainer. How many coaches would have done that? I'm sure there are a good number of coaches who just would have went on Patrick Mahomes' word, would have been talked into letting him stay in the game at that point.
That's why Andy Reid's such a good coach, because he did take responsibility and accountability for that. I
don't know if I agree with that, Jack. I think a coach seeing him in that much pain and worried about the rest of the playoffs might have pulled him out of the game totally. I know I would have, because we got a game next week. We could win this game's in hand. Why put him out there anymore and let him get hurt? So,
and you got a valid.
That's what I would have done.
Yeah, you got a valid point, because if he did break his ankle or tore some ligaments, which probably happened, then how effective is he going to be? And that's the question you have to ask. You got to know. You got to know.
I think you see more of that, by the way. Obviously, with the emphasis on player health, you're going to see a lot more of that stuff. Not just with head injuries, but injuries in general. So,
yeah. Pags is pretty quiet over there. He's just taking it all in. His Eagles win.
He hasn't been asleep.
Yeah, well,
not enough sleep.
Well, Pags.
But I don't need to say much, do I? Do I really need to say a lot? This team was just head, shoulders, and torso better than the Giants.
I gotta admit it. I gotta take it. I gotta admit it. I really do.
It's hard for you.
Jim.
You know what, though, Mac, as a Giant fan, you should take this in perspective is everything. If I told you before the season, you'd have 10 wins, you'd win a playoff game, you'd have been ecstatic. And Daniel Jones would make the leaps that he made. They were all played badly last night, but that doesn't diminish the steps they made forward this year.
Well, they were 9-6-1. I wouldn't give them 10 wins. I wouldn't give them double-digit wins. 9-6. No, 9-7-1. I'm sorry.
Oh my God.
Whatever.
Yeah,
10 wins. I round up. I'm from,
Okay.
Yeah, we're rounding.
Didn't they beat Minnesota in that playoff game? I would make them 10-win team.
Well, there you go.
Okay, there you go.
Thank you, Pags.
There you go. Thank you. So, Frank, let me get some of the comments up here real quick. Frank, of course, he's been anti-Eagle, if you will. I don't know why it's not coming up for me. Come on up here.
Yeah, it's up. It's up.
Anyway, this is what he says. Okay, he says, I hate the Eagles, but this is a great team and the greatest team they've ever fielded. No way they don't win it all. So Frank is kind of coming to the realization that the Eagles do have a very good team. I still don't know if they'll win it all, but I'll tell you right now, I would want to play them. Rick says, good morning, gentlemen. Looking for Jim's take on Lamar Jackson injury playoffs. We'll get to that in a little while. Rick. And Excalibur joins us again. Right.
CA, good man. CA is a good man.
Yes. If needed before the game, with the Jaguars staff being down 3, kicking off with 11:50 left in the game. I don't know, guys. What do you think? Do you think they should be kicking off, or whatever point he's trying to make here?
I don't think they were ever down 3. I think they were down 7. I think.
Yeah, 7. Yeah, I think so.
But you got to kick off there. I mean, 11 minutes left in the game. Yeah.
Yeah. What I want to ask you, what were the Giants thinking about going for it early in the game on 4th? It was.
I think
that's what I want to ask you.
They weren't thinking, Jim. Nobody was thinking over there.
I read a comment from Dabo in the Post this morning where he said, obviously didn't work, but it was too far for a field goal. He felt they had a play that they'd worked on all week for that situation, and their blocking fell apart, and the play fell apart. So he said he would have done it again, but that was really a momentum changer very early for the Eagles. So
yeah. And did Hoskins play yesterday?
He did. He was.
No, I'm not trying to be funny.
He was. He had like 1 catch for 3 yards, I think.
Yeah.
So much for his emergence, right?
Yes. I mean, listen.
No, I'm not trying. I'm just asking because I noticed that he didn't show up, and the Titans didn't show up.
No.
And defensively, they were outmanned. I mean, they couldn't cover them. There were open receivers. There was no coverage, and that's not Wink Martin plays all that man defense, and he couldn't cover them.
They had
Jim.
Excuse me.
Yeah,
I think when the Eagles got Miles Sanders and got it going early, that was basically it.
Good point.
Mm-hmm.
Jim showed his true colors. He picked the Giants to win also with me.
No. I picked the Eagles in overtime. I'm embarrassed that I thought it was going to be that tight.
No, he was talking about me, Jack.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Jim did go with me. I don't know.
You paid me, but I want my.
Tags, did you hear what Michael Strahan said after the game? He said he loved playing in Philadelphia, but they're the meanest and nastiest fans anywhere. Was that a compliment? Or was that a put down by Strahan?
That's I think that he obviously wasn't there last night, because I saw a lot of Eagles and Giants fans getting along pretty well.
Yeah.
It wasn't any type of display. In fact, I saw Giants fans fighting other Giants fans more than I saw Giants fans fighting Philly fans. It was very weird. I mean, for a playoff game, even beforehand, I thought that there would be maybe a little bit of contention. There really wasn't. So I don't know what he was talking about.
They should have put those Giant fans on the field last night. They were fighting.
Now listen to the Patriots.
A little bit more fight.
Listen to the Patriots fan.
I got no dog. I bet the Giants yesterday. Sadly enough, I didn't think they'd win, but I thought they'd cover 8 points. But
but do you think because of the problems in the receiving that limited the Giants to what they could do? They had Saquon and Daniel Jones, but they didn't have any receiver that could separate.
Without a doubt, this team they'll be a good football team if they get some weapons. And
but do you go through free agency or do you draft it? That's the question you ask.
Well, I think they'll go whatever direction they have to. They get Robinson back, and he develops. He was a rookie pick out of Kentucky last year. He had some moments early in the year. He got hurt, right? If he comes back and develops, there's one guy. So you only need 4 more, and you'll be great.
Oh, I don't want to hear it. The game before, you had Kadarius Toney on the field for the Chiefs, Evan Ingram on the field.
Agreed.
Yeah, agreed. Giants, all they had to do is hold on to him.
Agreed.
You can say but what I'm saying, they didn't fit what they were trying to build.
Listen, Ingram dropped the ball when he played with us. Tony was a handful. He had a terrible attitude.
when it comes to Ingram, was it coaching or what? Because he's like the fourth best tight end in football this year. He had a tremendous year this year. He blocked, he caught balls, he caught like 74 passes in the regular season. Yeah. And he played well again last night. And he made a big block. I say you don't block. Last week in that touchdown, the touchdown that they cut the lead to 1 last, he made a block to seal the seam that let ETN get open for the touchdown. He made a great block. He's played really well this year. And maybe it's coaching, maybe he just got coached.
And that's what I was about to say. Keith makes a good point. Certain guys need certain kind of, first of all, they need the structure of the team. And Kadarius Toney went to Kansas City. That's a different structure than the Giants because that's not an up-and-coming team. This is the 5th division championship they're in. And same thing with Jacksonville. Now you have Peterson, and he worked with Ingram, and he knew how the buttons to push. Certain coaches know the certain buttons to push on certain players, and you can't underestimate that.
Yeah. Rick has to comment on my shirt, sitting in the sun again without the Magnum PI shirt. I don't know what that means, but thanks, Rick.
I think he meant to say Jack.
Okay, all right. So
Jack is not having the Magnum PI shirt.
There you go, Jack.
No,
Jack is.
Back to the Giants-Philly game, you got to give Philly all the credit. They played well. They went out there. And they got things done. They started at the beginning. And they didn't let off there. That's what I always tell you. You can't let off on these teams because any team, if you give them the opportunity to come back, they have a chance. But Giants had no hope. They had no hope. And that's not saying they're a bad team. It's just that Philly said, hey, we're not going to give you a chance. When you got them down, you keep going after them.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. That's what you should do being a professional team. It's their job to stop you. Excalibur, thanks for joining us. Excalibur Iron Force. He says they were down 3 and kicking off at 11:50 in the game. I believe anyone involved with the team would have taken that situation before the game. I think we already covered this. I think he's talking about the Jags and they were down 7.
He is. Yeah.
There was something that happened that was really revealing at the end of the Jaguar-Chief game. Trevor Lawrence was one of the first guys to the tunnel. And he waited for everyone to come back, and he greeted everyone going back to the locker room. I mean, exhibiting that type of leadership, one after the other, giving them a pat on the back. I mean,
that shouldn't be unusual. That shouldn't be unusual.
But it is
That's
unusual.
How it's supposed to be. He is the leader of that team.
Right, that establishes it. And you could tell the way the other players were reacting with him. It wasn't like he was going in with his head down, sulking, sitting in a corner. I mean, took a real leadership role
Jack
there.
This kid has won national championships. He knows the right way to do things.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
Cool. So, guys, let's
those guys are, like I've always argued, you can have your Aaron Rodgers and stuff. You can have those guys. And Aaron Rodgers is going to be MVP and all that. But it's how many championships has he won? How does he? Yeah. But how does he communicate to the other players? It's team. There's no I in team. And you got to understand that. There's great individual players, but do you want to win championships? Because that's going to last more than one in a lifetime.
Jim, there is a me in team if you go backwards, but we'll leave that.
Michael Jordan used to say that.
Let's finish up with the Kansas City Jacksonville game as far as Kansas City goes. Kelsey, of course, another great game by him. He has 2 touchdowns. You have the Chiefs have a running game now, and that's pretty scary. That's pretty scary because they don't just depend on Patrick Mahomes, which is good for Patrick Mahomes right now, right? So the Chiefs have a running game. Their defense is playing well. Jones is still a force in the middle. So that's it for Kansas City. A little news here. Let's see. Is Mahomes again? I'm going to ask. Let me ask Pags this: is Mahomes being hurt? Is this going to hurt their chances with the playoffs? The rest of the playoffs coming up. I know they got a running game, but they do still depend on Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, Absolutely. And so now you're going to be able to force him. All you key on the running game, and now you're forcing him to have to, go do the pass. I think that Cincinnati's got the little bit better defense. So I think that if they were the ones that get to play Kansas City's got a big problem because they're already in their head. Buffalo, I think, would be forced a little bit more to have to try to blitz and be a little bit more exotic on defense. I think that Buffalo's got the offense that could keep up with Kansas City. But if you allow Patrick Mahomes to do what he needs to do, you saw that yesterday, he was able to still make it happen on the ankle after the fact. Now, adrenaline probably had a lot more to play a part in that, but he'll be taped up and he'll be able to at least be out there and put some weight on it.
First of all, can I respond to that?
Sure.
Yeah. Buffalo is going to win this game, and I'll tell you why. First of all, Cincinnati's down 3 offensive linemen, and they've struggled on their offensive line. Yes, they have talent at the skill positions. They do have Mixon. They do have Chase, Boyd, and Higgins, but they're going to get after definitely get after Burrows. And I don't have anything but respect for Burrows and how he plays. But I saw Cincinnati in person, and when they played the Cowboys in Dallas, they're going to struggle in Buffalo. And Buffalo's defense, Leslie Frazier, is not a big blitz guy. He's never been a big blitz guy, but he did learn from Jim Johnson in Philly when he was in Philly and McDermott. But they don't blitz a lot. If you ever notice it, they're going to disguise things, and that's what they do really well is disguise. They're not a big blitz team, and he won't be a big blitz team because that's not his philosophy.
So the Jags come back, make it close. It was a better game, definitely, in the Giants and the Eagles game. Trevor Lawrence, he goes 24 for 39 with 217 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Running back Travis Etienne Jr. He has a touchdown. So the Jags gave the Chiefs a scare there, especially at the end. They played well. Jack, you mentioned Trevor Lawrence. Next year, does this Jaguar team, do they win the division out there?
They might go to the Super Bowl next year. They're really a team on an upswing with all their young talent. I said might. It doesn't mean I'm picking them, but they're just going to get better. I can't see them regressing with all their young talent that's coming along. Other teams like the Giants, no offense, Mac, I could see the Giants taking a step back, actually. Maybe they'll take a gentle step forward, the Giants, but they're more likely to take more of a step back than they will forward. But I won't say that about the Jaguars. All the young talent, especially on the defensive end with Walker, Devin Lloyd, guys like that. Very bright future in Jacksonville.
Yeah, I think so. I think just the change of that coach, just getting rid of the bad coach from last year. And bringing
coaching does matter.
It does a lot. And, the two coaches, they worked together. They played, I guess Peterson played for Home. The head coach of the Chiefs. Yes. He played for him. He was a quarterback coach, offensive coordinator. They knew each other, and I think that had a bearing on the game too. They kind of knew what each other did and how they would call the game and all that stuff. So, a real good game. I enjoyed that game.
Makes you wonder.
Go ahead, Keith. Sorry.
The Peterson question makes you wonder if Byron Leftwich, which hadn't overplayed his hand and got that job. He pretty much had that job in his hand last year. And kind of kicked it away. If that had gone through, does this team progress the way they did?
Yes, I listen. I agree. Well, you don't think so, Pags?
Nope.
No, I don't think so.
I think that Doug Peterson brings a certain culture that and a winning stagger that doesn't necessarily come with Byron Leftwich. You know what I mean? I think that I'm a firm believer that you have had to win to know how to win. And, unless you've made it, over that hump, you still wonder what it takes to get over the hump.
Leftwich won the Super Bowl a couple of years ago with Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Not as a head coach, though.
No, not as a
Right.
head coach. Yeah, but he
Right.
still
He comes
was
from a
on that
winning
staff.
culture.
And
Yeah.
he was the quarterback coach or the
I
offensive.
wonder if they had their rough patch when they had a rough patch during the middle of the season where they were in games and would blow games in bad ways. And I don't know that they would have recovered under a guy like Byron Leftwich the way they did under Doug Peterson. So
Yeah.
that's
I don't
my take there.
I don't either, but I don't think Leftwich. I think he was in a difficult situation because of the running game in Tampa and the injuries
Impossible.
in the offensive line. It was
Yeah.
almost, like you said, impossible.
Yeah. No, I'm not. I didn't make the comment based on his performance this year.
Yeah.
I just meant in general if the you know
Right.
that deal had gone.
Who made the decision on Leftwich? If Todd Bowles wanted him there, would they have moved on from him? Bruce Arians is very close, and Bruce Arians supposedly
For both of them.
it makes the ultimate decision, supposedly, and he's very close with Todd Bowles. So if Todd
And
Bowles wanted Leftwich, I mean, and Leftwich was there when Bruce Arians was the head coach. You know, they won the Super Bowl. So something had to have gone down that where the relationship kind of started falling apart.
Well,
Yeah.
if you notice that it was interesting, they let go of the running back coach, obviously Leftwich. They let go of the special teams coach, and there was a disconnect in that organization. They let go of the outside linebackers coach. They're on the clock now.
They'll be letting go of number 12 too, by the way.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
that
let
should
go
happen
of Brady.
too. Hey guys, let me knock out a few more comments here. Rick Sherlock says Leslie Frazier's name keeps coming up for head coaching job. He would be a poor choice. I don't know about that, Jim. I know you like Leslie.
No, I know Leslie, but to be honest with you, there are some head coaches that are better coordinators, and we've seen that. You know, Vic Fangio, he's probably a better coordinator than he is a head coach, and it's not unusual. We saw McDaniels. McDaniels is probably a better offensive coordinator than he is a head coach. It's just some guys, and it happened with Norv Turner way back. Turner was a better.
He's a great example. Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
no doubt. So we have Jack Jackson.
Good morning, Jack.
Good morning, Jack. Glad you could make it. Craig Wright, my buddy, up here in Connecticut. How you doing, Craig? Glad to have you in. He says good morning to everybody. Real good guy.
Good morning. Good morning, Craig.
Love having him in. So let's get on. I don't want to talk about this too much. I'll let Pax talk about it more, I guess. So the Eagles face the Giants. Jalen Hurts goes 16 for 24, 154 yards, throws for 2 touchdowns. He runs for a touchdown. He does it all. And Goddard, you know, the Philadelphia Eagles depend on their tight ends a lot now. And they have, I think, since the days of Holmgren, really. I mean, the Eagles tight ends were always out there playing good ball. Goddard, Pags, that's one great tight end you got there right now. Blocks, runs, catches the ball. Tough guy. So what do you think? What do you think about the Eagles' chances playing Dallas or San Fran next week?
I would love. I personally want Dallas to win. I want Dallas to win. I want Dallas next week. I'd love to see them. I want to finish it. I want to put it to bed. You know, about who's the better team this year. I don't think there's any doubt in my mind. And really, probably the NFL's mind. We put the NFL on notice that the Eagles are for real. You know, that's what the best team in the NFL does on a field. They dismantle another team. And that's what you saw yesterday. You know, the Giants had a good season, you know, and I was happy for them. You know, like I told Giants fans all day yesterday, the NFC East is back, and we were by far the best division in football all year long. And we proved it by having 3 of the 4 teams in the playoffs in the Final Four in the NFC. Yeah. So they definitely deserve to be there because I think that they were really about the 4th best team in the NFC side anyways. Like, it wouldn't have mattered had they played Tampa. I think they would have crushed Tampa too. But it was for real yesterday, exactly what the Eagles are. and it's going to be hard to beat. I don't know. I mean, especially in Philly, with as exciting as crowd is. I want anything from them. I'm not about either team.
I got to run. I'll make one quick comment. 268 yards rushing. You run for 268 yards, you're going to win almost every time. So that was a great performance by the Eagles last night. Dominating, and they got a really good chance to get all the way. I got to run.
Yeah, they do, Keith. Take care.
Hey, Keith. All right, brother.
See you, Robert.
In. There you go.
All right, Keith.
No beef. No beef. Only the beef for dinner. That's it.
Keith and Robert are still at each other's throats. They don't want to prepare together. I don't know what's going on. What Keith? I don't know what Keith said.
Keith,
Robert, but I'll take it back. All right. Okay. So we bring in Robert Butler. He's from Sports Scope. Handles a lot of our big stories. He handles the update with fantasy for us, and I know that's got to be coming to an end. But they still have the sits and plays and stuff, daily fantasy for the games. So let's get to Robert with some of the big stories. What are some of the big stories, Robert, out there about the NFL?
Well, I mean, where's Sean Payton going to coach? Is he going to go to Denver? Here's a story nobody's talking about, but I'm kind of keeping on my radar. Is this Jim Harbaugh NCAA line to the NCAA? The fact that he would lie. Say, I'm out of Tennessee here, guys. Bruce Pearl lied about a barbecue about 12 years ago and got fired from Tennessee because he lied to the NCAA about having kids over for a barbecue. Something small like that can bubble up into something big. And I'm wondering if he may just say, okay, I'm going to do a U-turn and go take the NFL job because of some NCAA COVID stuff. I hope not. I like to see him in Michigan, but it's something to think about.
But Robert, from my understanding, is they have to prove it to NCAA that he lied.
Yes.
Because it was during COVID.
Right.
And if they can't prove it, they can't. There is some minor infractions.
Yes.
They're all minor. But unless they prove that he lied, and they said it's going to be really difficult to prove that he lied to the NCAA.
What can they do if they do prove he did? Can they
suspend him?
They could suspend him a year. So then he can just quit and go to the NFL, couldn't he?
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Okay,
But they said it's going to be really difficult to prove. Yeah. Now, they did fire his co-offensive coordinator, Weiss.
Right.
Yeah, that makes me think there's some kind of smoke there, you know?
But that was something else. Computer activities. I've never heard that before. Something, so it must have been something.
Yeah.
Illegal.
Well, Robert, what are your thoughts on the two games yesterday? The Giants, of course, getting walloped, and the Jags gave Kansas City a scare, but Patrick Mahomes answered the Pelican.
Jamie is
he's
sweeping. Yeah, he's sweeping.
Yeah. Yeah. So teams that play each other 3 times now, they're 16-9 for the team that's won the 3 games. Like I said, I'm out of Nashville, guys. The Titans beat the Jaguars in 1999 twice, and then they beat them a 3rd time to go to the Super Bowl. Sometimes they're just a better team. Yeah, I was really impressed, man, with Nick Sirianni and that offense, Jalen Hurts. I mean, it's really well crafted. I mean, I think the storyline of the playoffs, look at these offensive-minded head coach guys. I mean, just really good execution. I was really impressed. I want to say Jalen Hurts, I know he went 6 for 6, Jamie. He may have been better than that. He was almost perfect out there. I mean, that was a great execution. That first touchdown with Dallas Goedert. I mean, it was a work of art, guys. I mean, I'm not trying to – I mean, you just got to give credit where it was. Howie Roseman, I read the other day, Pro Football Talks got him Executive of the Year. I've been saying that. I had Jamie on my program a few weeks. I said, this guy, I've been following him for 2 years. I know he had a bad draft with Jalen Reagor at wide receiver. I know you missed on that, but, man, I mean, making the trade, getting that was it Gardner Johnson from the Saints?
Yeah.
Darius Slay's been with you guys for 3 years. Getting that trade, second round pick with the Lions, obviously the Titans trade, all that's starting to come to fruition. And then now you find a guy like Sirianni, kind of got him out of nowhere, and it all comes together on both sides of the ball. You got to give a big kudos to them. Kansas City, yeah, the big story obviously is going to be the ankle of Patrick Mahomes. I don't think I think the winner of Cincinnati, even with their 3 offensive linemen down, or Buffalo, who I'm picking to win, obviously, I think they're going to get into the Super Bowl. I think it's going to be really hard for Kansas City to overcome that. That's the biggest storyline is that ankle.
Robert, what do you think about a neutral site? Because now they're talking about possibly doing that again.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't hear that. Yeah.
They're exploring it because the sales are so good for the championship game.
Yeah, that's interesting. They're going to have half of the stadium's going to be one, and half of the stadium's going to be the other fan base. That's going to be interesting. You're going to see, the 2 different color tones, kind of like the college games there. No, yeah. I wish they would have found a way to sell it on the field. Is that
more like the college football now?
Yeah.
The Final Four is basically going to a neutral site.
Would they have enough time right now to do a neutral site for the playoffs?
No, I'm saying next year.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Not now.
Just quickly with the comment on the screen, Craig. Tomorrow night, 7:00 Eastern Time, Glove Fist. We're going to talk all about Eubank getting stopped by Liam Smith in the 4th round. Okay.
Yeah, check it out.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, check
Kevin
out
Eubanks.
Glove Fist.
Man, he used to work on the Jay Leno show. Now he's doing boxing. Remember that?
Yes.
That was the guy from Jay Leno.
I got
Yes, I remember.
Am I hearing this right, Rob? The AFC and NFC championship games might be held in a neutral field going forward for now, but they sell those games.
They're exploring it because the ticket sales were so good.
Yeah.
For who at Buffalo wins, they play obviously Kansas City and Atlanta, and they said the sales they've already selling tickets. And that's
they would sell out in Buffalo. They would sell out in Cincinnati. They always sell out.
I'm just telling you. I'm just asking the question.
Yeah, I think that's terrible. You work all year to get that home field advantage. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Agreed.
And they said the tickets are going for crazy prices right now.
I'd much rather watch it at home. That's crazy. What's wrong with
during Hurricane Katrina?
College football, they do it, right?
It's huge in college football, yes.
Listen, I went during Hurricane Katrina to see the New Orleans Saints play at the Meadowlands, okay? And it skips my mind what team they even played, but it wasn't the Jets or the Giants. And it's not the same. I mean, that had to be done out of necessity. But to move a game away from from a home field, from the fans, I could understand it for the Super Bowl. But not in the not for the playoffs otherwise.
But if you have a fan base that travels with the team, I'm sure.
How many people can afford it? Imagine making packs go to Los Angeles.
Found a way to do it because they're getting sales, and you can get a bigger venue if you want to.
Yeah,
think about that.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
And I'm not saying that's going to happen, but they're exploring.
Right. Go ahead,
Robert. Sit or play. Let's do a few of those coming up here. Dallas and San Francisco. The quarterbacks, who you sitting, who you benching?
You know what? I'm probably going to play Dak Prescott, man. He's one of the cheaper quarterbacks here. And you look at the shot plays that San Francisco gives up. You look at the way he's playing. He's going to have to throw a lot. They're going to have to be aggressive. The Dallas line did really well last week, and I know San Francisco's got a much better defensive line, but they did give up 44 points to Kansas City earlier this year. They did give up 10 catches, 136 yards, 2 touchdowns to DK Metcalf. So CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott. I like that combination. Of course, on the other side, Deebo Samuel and Christian McCaffrey.
And Brandon,
they're more very expensive players on these daily fantasy leagues. You got to find a way to get those two guys in there. Right. Caffrey being the most expensive player, but hey, man, he does it all.
No doubt. And between the two defenses, who would you choose, Dallas or San Francisco, Robert?
But between those two defenses, that is a good question. I mean, that's if you're picking the whole weekend, you want to take Buffalo's defense. If you're forced to pick between those two defenses, you probably say San Francisco. They'll make a play at the end, but usually the slate of games is going with these, with the two games, which is 4 defenses essentially.
Gotcha. Cincinnati and Buffalo, between Josh Allen and Burrows, who you sitting, who you benching?
Well, I'll definitely play Allen. Burrows got 3 offensive linemen out today. That being said, what does that mean? That means you have to throw short. You got to throw short those wide receiver screens to Jamar Chase. And I like Samaje Perine. And, of course, I like Allen, Dawson Knox, and Stephon Diggs, and their defense as well.
As far as the running backs go, I think that would be Nixon would be one of them for Cincinnati. I know they got another good one too with them.
Yeah, Perine, Samaje Perine.
Right, that goes in.
He's like their third down guy.
Right, and of course Buffalo. They got some good running backs. They're running the ball a little bit better at the end of the year, Robert. Who you sitting and who you playing?
I would play James Cook there. He's better between the tackles. I think Buffalo will be in charge of this game. If they don't, that's a good topic for me to start off next week. Is Sean McDermott the guy for Buffalo as coach? Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Okay.
That's what I'm gonna go at. You got to get the offense going, man. You got to run that ball.
All right. Well, Jack, like me, we're not into fantasy football like many of you guys are. Jack still thinks that the Jets are playing in the Super Bowl this year, so he's all messed up. Jack, you got any questions for Robert as far as fantasy football go?
No, not fantasy football. I mean, oh yeah, I do. How does my guy Thibodeau match up? He's probably good in the fantasy thing because he's not good in the real games.
Oh wow! I haven't looked at that. There is a league in Yahoo, and I used to play this about 12, 15 years ago. And you could get points for tackles by the defensive individual players. D'Amico Ryans was a really good fantasy guy. He's the defensive coordinator now for the 49ers. Used to be linebacker for the Houston Texans, play for Alabama. It gets you 10, 11, 12 tackles a game. That's 10, 11 points.
Let me ask you a question, Robert. Do you think he'll be the Texans' pick for a head coach?
I want to say he's been interviewed.
Yes.
He's only been a coordinator for 2 years, guys, and his defenses were way out of line last year. He finally got them squared away, but they still kind of get lost in coverage. It may be a little premature, but I think Houston is definitely interested. He's had 4 interviews last week. So if Dallas wins, maybe that's a distraction, man. 1 week, that's a lot.
Let me ask you guys this. Is there a such thing as the game really passing a coach by? Because I look at Jim Caldwell, very successful with the Colts and with the Lions, but he's been off a while. So is there such a thing as a game passing you by? Like if you've been off 5 years, they feel you're not with it anymore. Is that reality?
That's a good point.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Robert.
In some cases, you look at a guy like Jeff Fisher here in Tennessee. Man, he was a toast of the towns in the late 90s, early 2000s. A lot of the national media loved him. He went to USC, played for the 85 Bears. And then, if he gets fired here because he wanted to hire his son. And plus the offense was just way too vanilla, way too predictable. He goes to the Rams, and Eric Dickerson in that L.A. market, they're saying he's running a high school offense up there, and he hasn't been back.
Wow. Craig Wright, I guess, as I told people before, he's a buddy of mine. We went to watch the Giants in Detroit win. Giants beat Detroit at Giants Stadium, and he's got a question about Goff. And we'll see what we say about this. What do you think about Goff in Detroit? Do we keep him or move on? I think that's an excellent question. What do you think, Robert?
Well, for one thing, I mean, Goff has had a good statistical year. Plus, guys, here's a good one for you. They're keeping their offensive coordinator another year. A lot of good chemistry there. Very good tackles, both right tackle and left tackle. I mean, a good skilled players. Maybe they adjust his contract a little bit. I don't know why you wouldn't keep Goff. Only thing this team needs is maybe 2 or 3 defenders there. I'm thinking about potentially picking them to win the North next year. Isn't that crazy?
Wow. Yeah,
they were good enough just about to win it this year. I think that they figured out how to win some of the games that they were losing early in the season. And had they known that earlier, that they, getting over that hump, they lost a lot of games by 3 points. I want to say their first 4 or 5 losses were by 3 points. And
they played you guys close.
Yeah, and had they been able to finish certain games, I think that there would have been a bigger disparity in the record. No doubt in my mind that they win the North next year. I think the Vikings take a big step backwards.
Yeah.
I think that the Packers are in such disarray. And I think that the Lions actually are the real team of that division.
You got to remember, Goff went to a Super Bowl.
I was just going to say that, Jim. I mean, that's and he is a good leader. He's a great game manager. Can make big plays down the field. And Detroit's got a great young defense, Jack. I mean, you talked about their rookie there this year. He played unbelievable this year for a rookie.
Mac, Goff is a great example. Put him in the category of Daniel Jones in the sense, how much do you invest in these guys going forward? You want them to be a quarterback, maybe the next couple of years, but can you look down the line and say that he's going to be the quarterback of the Lions? You want him there 4 or 5 years from now? Yeah, you can't quite do it. Trevor Lawrence, you can do that with. You can do it with a number of quarterbacks, but some guys are like on the cusp. They're not, you can't quite.
Why not, Jack? Why can't he be there 4 or 5 years?
Goff is a game manager. He's not a game changer. He's not going to win you games. Trevor Lawrence is going to win you games.
I disagree. I don't think that it was the offense that was the problem with Detroit.
The defense I agree.
Was very porous.
I'm talking about his body of work from when he was with the Rams. I know.
Yeah, but you got to go by the body of work this year. He was tremendous this year.
I agree.
Yeah. Me too.
So I mean, it's just his numbers were really off the charts. I mean, they were putting up 40 and losing.
Yeah.
I think that happened 3 times this year for them. So you can't really fault that.
Is he an elite quarterback? You have to ask yourself. And
you have to say that close. He was more elite than a lot of the quarterbacks this year.
That's true.
Yeah.
I mean, the numbers don't lie.
You're not going to invest in them long term. You have to look at the body of work. Look back 1 year to the beginning of the year. Okay, Dan Campbell didn't even know whether Jared Goff is going to be his franchise quarterback. Same with the Giants, who wouldn't pick up Daniel Jones' 5th-year option. So these guys have one really good year, and everyone gets excited. And
to your point, they didn't know if Jalen Hurts was going to be the franchise quarterback, but now you can't say that.
But Jalen Hurts was on
real quick, just so that you know, here's Jared Goff's numbers. This year. 4,438 yards passing, 29 touchdowns, 7 interceptions.
Wow.
That's at 99.3 quarterback rating. That's pretty elite. That's pretty elite. Those are elite numbers.
Now tell me his numbers his other years. Okay.
Everybody, I keep trying to tell you, everybody matures, especially quarterbacks, at a different pace. And not everybody's going to come in and set the world on fire. Some, it takes time.
Next thing I'm going to hear Mac phrasing Geno Smith as being one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. He had a big year too.
Wow.
Hey,
And then
Robert.
and you're trying to push Derek Carr on me with the Jets.
Hey, Robert, wouldn't you think the Rams would rather have Goff right now than Stafford?
Well, I'll say this, guys. These type of contracts, you have to make them realistic. And Jack does have somewhat of a point. Look at a guy like Matt Ryan. Did you judge Matt Ryan on his MVP year, or do you take every other year and you average them together? Daniel Jones' stats last night, you have to average last night with what he did against the 31st ranked defense in Minnesota. And you got to give it's all how the contract is written and make it incentive based. The people say incentive based. What do you mean? Set a bunch of world records? No, so many snaps. So many advances. And this is a hard conversation that the management has to have with his agent and him or whoever the agent is. Same thing with Lamar Jackson, guy like that. You have to have that conversation. Says, if we pay you X, Y, and Z, you're not going to have X, Y, and Z here to protect you, or you're not going to have J, K, and L to throw to. And then we're going to have LMN on defense. We can't have all these guys. So do you want to be happy and have an incentive, and you want to have your guys with you, and we can pay you up to 35, 40 million if we go deep in the playoffs and you play X amount of snaps and you have X amount of yards? But if we have a bad year, if we have a bunch of injuries, your base pay is going to be about 18 to 22 million dollars. That's nothing to sneeze at. But you're not Patrick Mahomes, man. And we know that. So those are hard conversations to have. But
Robert,
at the end of
didn't
the day,
that happen with Antonio Brown, Tampa? It was incentive based. And then he didn't get his incentives and he blew up after that, right?
Yeah.
So you got to be careful about those incentive based contracts.
Well,
I'm not saying it's right or wrong.
Right.
I wish I were Antonio Brown's agent. He should be back in the NFL.
Oh, God.
Oh, my God.
I wish I were his agent. I would go into Jerry Jones' office and I would sell it to Jerry, and Jerry would give him an opportunity.
Oh, God.
But you got to show that chart, guys. Does everybody have to get paid the huge money that the elite of the elite get paid? I mean, that's crazy. Sometimes you just got to say, do you want to be the highest paid guy on the team? That's okay. That's fine. We can do that.
Who are the four highest paid quarterbacks in the league right now? Obviously,
Rodgers.
Derek Carr is one of them, right?
Prescott.
Prescott is? I thought it was. I thought it was.
Mahomes is one.
No, Rodgers, Mahomes, Deshaun Watson, the top three, I think.
Who?
Well, I just
Watson, Mahomes,
Aaron Rodgers,
and there was one more.
And then Allen's up there when his contract.
Josh Allen.
Yeah.
It was.
The only thing I gotta say, Jim, is when Robert starts agreeing with Jack, I know the show is totally going off the rails.
It's a hard conversation. It's not an easy conversation, guys. It's not.
We're getting back to Rick. I don't know if he's still out there or not. He was talking about Lamar Jackson's injury and not playing in the playoffs. What our take was on that. We've given it before.
Yes.
I don't think Robert has. I don't think Pags has. What do you guys take on Lamar Jackson? Just not. I don't even think he went to the game. Did he? If I'm not mistaken.
No, they said he was sick.
Yeah, he's sick. So, what do you think about him not even showing up to the game, guys?
Well, Michael Vick says it's a sprained PCL. He said, I played a whole season on it. Then Robert Griffin, he chimed in and said, no, you did the right thing. And then that was an ACL, sprained ACL versus a PCL. And then there's a lot of back and forth. He should have went to that game. Some of the players were really – Sammy Watkins kind of said something about it. J.K. Dobbins. Those are guys that went public. What do you think the locker room's thinking? Yeah.
I mean, look at what Mahomes –
it's a one-play game, guys.
Yeah, and look what Mahomes just did playing yesterday. Pags, what do you think about that? What happens if Jalen Hurts decides he's not going to go into the game?
Yeah, I mean, me personally, if you don't want to be here, I don't want you here. Then that really is the best way I can explain that. I wouldn't want somebody who doesn't want to be there and be on the team. I mean, first off, I think that causes a different type of cancer, and it forces the team to have to make, the players to actually have to make decisions on what it is that they feel about you. And that's a really tough thing to do through a locker room. I feel that some of the players came to his back on that, which I feel should have happened. Obviously you don't want everything talking bad, but then you also saw, hey, would they have won that game had they had him playing? So I don't know. That's a big question to ask, and it's funny that it's going through during this contract talk. Like, is the money, is he worth the money? Do we want to spend it like this? Is it more of a liability because of his injury background?
Right. I know Jack wants Lamar Jackson. He wouldn't mind Lamar Jackson.
Jets. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Let me ask you this, Pags. With AJ Brown yesterday, he was sulking on the bench in the middle of the fourth quarter with the game locked up for the Eagles, and Nick Sirianni went over to him and was trying to console him. About what? Because he only had 3 catches. He wasn't targeted enough. I mean, I didn't like that at all.
I mean, I don't know exactly what was going on in that guy's life right now. It might have had nothing to do with football. I mean, I don't know. I mean, because my thought is that when you're winning so big and they were running the ball, he threw the ball 24 times. There wasn't enough passes to go around. I mean, he threw a pass to Zach Pascal. Zach Pascal's got 5 catches all year long. You know what I mean? So there goes one. There's only 15 catches to go around. It's Dallas Goedert got a couple. I don't know that was the problem. There might have been something else going on.
Rob, was he a problem at Tennessee?
No, but it reminds me of Stephon Diggs. The Minnesota Vikings a few years ago, they're beating the game's practically over. They've got the Saints beat. They later go on to beat the Saints. He's going off on the sidelines about not getting the ball. That's the thing with some of these receivers, man. Of course, later on they traded the guy and later got, Justin Jefferson. He goes to Buffalo. But that's that diva mentality with some of these receivers.
And it's always been that way.
There you go, Jim. You already know.
It's already been. That's how receivers are. You don't worry about
that. Not only that, I mean, Jalen Hurts and Brown are friends.
Yeah.
That was half of the reason why AJ Brown came here, was because these guys are like the best of friends. I can't imagine that he's going to be sulking because his very close friend isn't throwing him the ball. He would probably go to his buddy and say, "Hey, listen, I'm open."
Yeah, listen, I don't know. It could have been something personal. Somebody could be really sick. Somebody could be, in the hospital. We don't know what's going on here. Like.
But that's
and you know what? I checked out something. The highest paid quarterbacks are a little surprising. The top 10 quarterbacks of this year. Number 1 was Stafford, $61.5 million.
That's one point.
Second was Wilson. Wilson was 57. Allen at 47. Deshaun Watson at 46. And Aaron Rodgers at 42.
That's my point.
Yeah.
4 of the 5 are not in the playoffs. It hurts your team to have, and I know you're trying to get as much money as you can, but how do you build the team?
Yeah.
Well, number 6 was Kirk Cousins at $40 million. So Cousins was number 6, and Tom Brady. Tom Brady and Kyler Murray were tied at number 7 with $30 million.
Yeah. Well, Robert brought up
top 10. There wasn't many quarterbacks that were in the playoffs this year.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Robert has talked about the percentages of
12.6. You can't be over that number.
Quarterbacks, and you end up not having such a good season. Pickles has jumped in, guys. Hopefully, he's here for a couple picks. Of course, he's he's related to Robert some way. I think Robert was adopted. But anyway,
don't. I don't endorse or any his own pickles. It's his own.
No, Pickles won.
We don't agree
Pickles
on everything.
Our picks for every week.
Yeah, I think Pickles won the picks. Him and Pags, I think, came in first and second, if I'm not mistaken. Owners write these checks should have that conversation before players. Yeah, they got to work through some agents and all that other stuff too, Pickles. So I mean, I don't know how the contracts, how they would do that. I don't think incentives. I'm with Jim. I don't think incentives work. I really don't. So
you might have to do with Bobby Bonilla. That's what I keep saying.
And 30 years from now, but at least you win the championship.
Yeah.
I got to run, guys. Enjoy the games.
All right. Take care, Robert. Thanks for coming in,
guys.
buddy. Sportscope, Robert Butler. Check it out on Facebook and everywhere else. He does a great job. Craig, he likes Lamar, but needs to be there for the playoffs. That's right. I mean, you got to show at least.
I got to point out a number of players did have Lamar Jackson's back. You'd hear afterwards they would be defending him as well. We don't know what goes on inside the locker room. Jim has been in locker rooms.
But it doesn't matter. Think about this. You're right about what you say, but the problem is we don't know how hurt that kid was.
Right.
And we can say, well, he should have did this. Michael Vick could have said, but Robert Griffin lost his job. Lost his career because of an injury, a knee injury.
Yeah,
and everybody's different.
It's true. It's true, Jim. I just show the only problem I have is you didn't show up for the game. That's the biggest problem.
I'm not
I don't care if you're sick or not. Show up for the game and bring your medicine with you, whatever you got to do there. I mean, come on. You got to go to the game. I mean, that's just nuts.
We don't know what he had, but I like Lamar Jackson. I'm afraid of those kind of quarterbacks myself personally because they burn out pretty quick. They're like running backs.
Yes.
Would you rate Jalen Hurts as that type of quarterback potentially? Well, he runs a lot.
A way better passer. He's
smart, and he's smart. He's smart, Jack.
You saw the game. How he played the game.
He yesterday designed one running play where he got hit. It was, deliberately ran the ball, and maybe he was trying to send a message that he was okay, but it was kind of alarming. He maybe didn't go down quick enough, and he got popped pretty well.
Well, for the most part.
This thing I'm looking at a stat, quarterback hits. How meaningful is it in this day and age? Because, the defensive team is reluctant to hit a quarterback. It's not like it used to be. That stat, quarterback hits, they're trying to pull up and not put their hands on him at the last moment. I don't get that.
I have to agree because the Kansas City game, when Trevor Lawrence got hit on one play by the defensive lineman from Kansas City, they call it roughing the passer. The next quarter, the defensive lineman did the same hit, and there wasn't a call. I don't know how you call the games. I don't know how the umpires and the referees are making these choices on what's a roughing the court. I really don't. And I question, what are they trying? I know what they're trying to accomplish, but how are they trying to get this done? You got to be afraid every time you hit a quarterback, even if you sack them, are they going to call roughing the quarterback?
I don't know. I don't know. I think the play you were talking about was the guy actually almost got blocked into.
Yes.
Blocked into, and I mean, how can you stop when you're getting blocked into the guy or pushed into the guy? Yeah, I mean, that's I don't know. Maybe they do have to do instant replays on hits. I don't know. I know it might slow the game down a little bit, but maybe they got to start doing that. Maybe that's the only way to call it.
I don't know. I really don't know the answer to it, and it's going to cost some people games or teams games because you don't know the definitive way they call it, and they can't during the when they come into training camps, the referees come and they have video of it. But I mean, when they show a video of roughing quarterback, let's take for Minnesota and the Giants, Dexter Lawrence cushioned the quarterback, and they still called it. I mean, I don't know. I'm like, and he sacked him.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I think.
Could you imagine some of the past? Some of these guys rushing the quarterback, and they call this stuff. None of them could play.
I think the Eagles should have been called. I think the Eagles should have been called a lot of roughing the passer last night, Jim.
Reggie White. But think about that.
Yeah. I mean, it's changed. The game has changed, Jim. We know that. You can't touch the quarterback anymore. And sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. It all depends on what.
Yeah. So on further review, going backwards, 70% of your sacks were roughing the passer, and you only wound up getting like 32 sacks instead of over 100.
Yes,
but that is true. But the problem is that I'm not the only one. There's a high percentage of people who've done that. I mean, that's just the way you played.
Yes. Pickle says the hit on Mahomes looked intentional. Didn't he get fell on by his own guy?
Yeah, I think it was a defensive lineman. I don't.
Was it a lineman? But he was getting blocked, right, Jim? He was getting blocked at the time.
He
I mean,
fell down. You hit him. I don't think it was intentional.
No, I don't either. I don't think that.
I don't think it was intentional. And I usually agree with.
Yeah, I want to get you guys' thoughts on players coming out in the draft early. I think Stroud has said he's coming out early. I think there's a couple of other players that are coming out early. Do you think it's a good idea for these players to come out early, and play at this higher level? I think that, the NFL has them staying, I think it's 3 years now. They're going to stay 3 or 2 years. I'm not sure exactly. But do you think there's some way to stop that too? Make them go 4 years? I know there's probably not, but don't you think it'd be beneficial to the players to get that 4 years working? I mean, you look at Purdy. He got 4 years in at his college, and he looks like a veteran out there almost.
Kenny Pickett for the Steelers too was a 4-year start at Pitt.
Yeah.
And
maybe at certain positions, but then you have other ones that some of those guys are ready. Running backs, for example. A running back can come out earlier, but quarterbacks is difficult. But you've seen successful quarterbacks over the year. Didn't Mahomes come out early?
Yeah, but he played behind. He was behind Smith for almost a year, right?
For a full year, yeah. He sat behind Alex Smith for 1 year. That was the plan all along, and Mahomes knew it.
It's a hard thing to tell, but you do have 3 years, and then they can come out. But some quarterbacks are in some positions are ready, some are not. Say Sauce Gardner for you. Is Sauce Gardner ready to play? He was ready. Aiden Hutchins, hey, there you go. He was ready. There are certain players that could play at that level.
Yeah. I just go ahead, Jack.
Gets to the quarterback sitting a year carrying the clipboard the way Mahomes did for Alex Smith. I'm not saying Mahomes didn't learn, but really, did it make a difference? Why not just start Mahomes as a rookie if you feel he's an exceptional talent? This way you get a head start. You're going to make your mistakes anyway when you first start playing. I don't see what carrying the clipboard, unless you have a really raw talent like Malik Willis playing at a smaller school like Liberty coming out. But if a guy's coming from a major program, he's been playing under all that pressure, playing in the spotlight, I think, you start playing him as soon as you can.
Let me ask you this question. Did they know they had an elite talent? I'm using this as an example. Troy Aikman, they drafted Steve Walsh when they
I remember
the year after they got Troy Aikman. Did they know they had an elite talent? Did they know
Mahomes was the number 10 overall
pick
in the draft? He was I think it was the number 10 overall pick.
Mm-hmm.
So that means, he's an exceptional. Mitch Trubisky ironically went third, then Deshaun Watson, and then Mahomes.
You don't know what you had. They didn't know they had this guy.
But
Jack,
especially learned by playing.
Jack, you say that, and we've argued that back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
But Mahomes had a full year to sit behind Smith. He had a full year with his offensive coordinator, a full year with his quarterback coach. I mean, a full year of studying. So, I mean, Mahomes was pretty much ready to go in his second year when they got rid of Smith. And it was the plan, as you said, but he still had a lot of tutelage before he went out and played.
Let me give you an example. Trevor Lawrence, he just finished his second year. His first year was a tough learning experience. He made his mistakes. Imagine if Trevor Lawrence had to carry a clipboard for 1 year. He wouldn't have been as good in his second year. I mean, you're just delaying the guy's clock, basically.
Well, let's look at it like this. Peyton Manning struggled at the beginning of his career, but as it progressed, he got better. So you don't never know.
By playing.
I don't know if he could have held the clipboard, but he could have struggled. It's always going to be a struggle at the beginning. That's it. It's going to be a struggle because this is a different game than the college game.
Yes.
But look at Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert, what they did in their rookie year. They played, they got better, and, no need to carry a clipboard if you know a guy's truly a franchise quarterback.
I don't think it hurts.
Listen,
Jack, I don't think it hurts the quarterback to sit behind for a year and to get better. I don't think that hurts them at all. I mean, it doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't affect. I mean, look at Jalen Hurts, right? He sat for a year, if I'm not mistaken, right, Pags? And look how he's playing right now.
Yeah, well, he sat for 2/3 of the year.
There you go.
No. The only reason Jalen Hurts ever got to play was because Carson Wentz faded out. If Carson Wentz would have kept it together and been the same quarterback he was early in his career with the Eagles, Jalen Hurts never sees the field.
Right. I agree with that.
Didn't they have design plays for him or something? I think they were working him in, Jack. I think they were working him into
the value was too good with Jalen Hurts to bypass a talent like that for the Eagles. But and Doug Peterson was in Carson Wentz's corner. He didn't want to ever go to Jalen Hurts, but it became inevitable when Carson Wentz got worse and worse and worse. It's rare to see a quarterback really regress the way Carson Wentz did. I don't know. Can you guys remember any other cases like that? I know with my Jets, Richard Todd got off to a good start. He regressed. But, once in a while, it's strange to have an elite talent who performs at the highest level in the NFL, and all of a sudden he just loses it.
But a lot of it is personalities too, Jack. When you look at quarterbacks, you got to really look at how they perform under stress, because that out of all the positions, that is one that's just going to be a stressful position. Your guys, Zach.
When we talk about Wentz, the other guy who comes to mind, who I feel has had very similar trajectories when it comes to personality, Jeff George.
Yes.
Great quarterback, supposedly, and tried 4 or 5 different teams, but everybody hated him. He was such an ass. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that Carson Wentz has got that same type of personality, but there's definitely something going on personality-wise that conflicts with everybody else in the NFL. When 3 teams now say the same thing, we cannot have him in our locker room. It's becoming an issue.
Yeah.
Because
it does. Guys, I mean, there's been quite a few quarterbacks that have gone around the league and tried different teams. Do you think the best of those quarterbacks that went around, to different teams would be Fitzpatrick? Would that be the best quarterback that has gone around, played different teams, and in fact started, I think, in Buffalo? I mean, he had a decent career. Is that a quarterback you think would be the best maybe of all time at that position?
No.
He's about 10 teams.
No. I think Fitzpatrick has had a lot of time. But you could say the same thing really about who am I thinking of? Oh, my Lord, I just lost it.
Teddy Bridgewater, he's been of 5-6 places.
Yeah, again, he's not the guy that I'm thinking of. Dalton. Dalton, right. Same situation where he's floating around. And who was the guy who he before Jalen Hurts in the playoffs? He was the one that played the Seattle game after Clowney gave the bad hit to Wentz. He was like 41 years old and floating around. So it's there's been a lot of journeyman quarterbacks who have been able to make a living playing a couple games here and there.
Okay.
And Testaverde did it for the back end of it.
I mean, the backup quarterback to me has always been so vital, and teams haven't really prepared for a situation where they could lose their franchise quarterback. Like yesterday with the Chiefs, we saw the value, of a backup coming in. I can never understand with Peyton Manning. He would never allow, for whatever reason, a competent backup with the Colts. I mean, it's as if Peyton Manning was, insecure in a way, he felt threatened. I mean, even look at the situation, the Buffalo Bills. If Josh Allen should go out, you're coming with Case Keenum. I wouldn't want him to be my QB long term, but he's certainly competent to come in and get the job done.
I mean, I guess I don't know. I think I don't think Peyton Manning picked who was his backup quarterback on the Colts, Jack. I think the team probably picked who would be the backup quarterback to Peyton Manning back then, not him.
Some iconic players have such a powerful voice that the coach kind of adheres to them in a certain sense.
I don't know about.
No, I really believe that.
We always get into
Brady at Tampa, Aaron Rodgers with the Packers. The organization tries to accommodate them.
I don't.
Jordan Love. They drafted Jordan Love.
But they didn't know they would take no. But then they kicked Aaron Rodgers off, and then they gave up every way, shape, or form. If I'm the Packers, I hate to say it, I think you got to move on from Aaron Rodgers. If you can make a heck of a deal and get a lot of good draft capital, I would make that move.
You just want him on the Jets, right?
Move on to what?
You want him to move to the Jets, right?
Yeah, no, the Jets couldn't get him.
Is.
No, I mean, what are the Jets going to give up? The Packers are going to demand too much. The Jets don't have enough. I mean, the team that might have some
I think the money forces you to not have to give up as much.
It would be
you could get away with maybe offering a second-round pick for Aaron Rodgers because you got to pay $60 million.
I agree.
I would give up my first-round pick, number 13 overall, and then I would give up a second rounder and maybe, a couple of fourth rounders. And
too much, way too much.
But let me ask you this question. If you're thinking that way, why don't you just take Jimmy G? You don't give up anything.
Jimmy G, I don't like game. And honestly, what I would do with the Jets, I would go all in on Zach Wilson, believe it or not. You need a strong coach. Robert Saleh wasn't a strong coach, a strong voice last year. He should have shut the Jet players down. Those guys who wore Mike White T-shirt, he should have put them in their place. He should have very firmly, and he should have put the fans in their place, kind of like what a Bill Parcells would do, or even a Jimmy Johnson. You let the fans in the organization know, this is my guy. This is the guy playing. You don't waver. You go right back at him, and you play the guy. Either that or you move on from the quarterback. You move on from Zach Wilson 100%, or you buy in or out.
But
you can't be a
did
middle
you hear
ground.
what Max said? Some guys, especially at quarterback, they have to be good in the locker room. I don't mean they have to be buddy or anything, but they have to have the respect of that locker room. Zach Wilson does not have the respect of the locker room.
Then you move on from him because he's never going to have it then.
No,
That's
unless
right.
he does something extraordinary.
Listen, unless a guy quarterback is so good, Big Ben Roethlisberger, I get the feeling he wasn't the most popular guy in his locker room, but he was a darn good quarterback.
And he
so
won.
have to put up with him.
He was a gamer.
Yeah.
There's quarterbacks probably that weren't good lot, but they were gamers and they won games for you.
Yeah.
Well, people followed them. I'm sure Aaron Rodgers is not the most popular guy in their locker room, but he wins games.
Yeah.
Jim, Jack brought up Saleh, and Saleh, of course, defensive coordinator for San Francisco 49ers, built a very good young offense. But I think they've replaced the offensive coordinator because they really had problems there.
Who went through the Rams.
Yeah.
Right. And so who do you blame? I mean, are you going to blame Saleh for what happened to the Jets this year? I mean, he's still the head coach. He still oversees everything. I mean, do you blame him for what happened to the Jets this year?
He's the one that has to be accountable, but you got to also think about it. He's a defensive guy. So he put his faith in LaFleur, and it didn't work out. And the Jets got better this year, we all said. They had issues at quarterback, but they still got better.
Right.
And he did the things. He said, hey, this is not working out. I got to go a different direction, which he is trying to do. He is trying to rectify the situation. Do you blame him? Well, it all falls on his head, but you also got to give him a chance to rectify the situation, I think, because that's difficult. I mean, for a head coach, especially with a defensive background, to get that right guy as an offensive. Again, I go back to we had David Shula when Jimmy first came in, and it didn't work. So he got Norv Turner, and it worked.
Yeah.
Certain coaches are better in certain situations.
What kind of coach was Dave Shula? Because he got a job at an early age based, on having the Shula name, being the son of the legendary Don Shula. He became a head coach of the Cincinnati Bengals, but you were with him there,
Yes.
the Cowboys. How good a coach was he?
Well, I think he was a good coach, and the problem is that the system that he ran didn't fit the personnel that we had.
That happened.
And he didn't, then that's what happened.
So that's not being a good coach, Jim. That's not being a good coach if you don't adjust.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes the system doesn't work. Some people are system guys. And sometimes it's better to look at what you have and work it around your players. Sometimes, not all, but you got to pull in the players that work in that system.
Yeah. I mean, the system does work sometimes like in New England, and sometimes it's freewheeling like in Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers. I mean,
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's not a perfect answer for any team. And Bill, you just got to figure out what your team does best and work around that.
Right. So let's start looking at today's games. We'll make a picks in a few here. Cincinnati at Buffalo. As Jim mentioned, Cincinnati is banged up. So the Damar Hamlin impact on the game, guys, has it been too long? Has it been too long that the Hamlin effect still doesn't mean anything anymore, or is it still impacting the game as they play here in Buffalo? What do you think?
I don't think it impacts it as much as it did, obviously, a couple of weeks ago. I think they've moved on. It'd be nice to see him in the game, but they said he's still on oxygen and he still has difficulties breathing. And you always, you're considerate of what he went through, but also, you have responsibility. You're playing to go to the championship game. And that's the most important thing now. You're going to play hard regardless of the situation.
Ags, what do you think about the quarterback matchup? I mean, you got Cool Joe on one side, you got Josh Allen on the other. Are they going to be lighting that cigar at the end of the game with Joe Cool in the locker room, or does Buffalo, with Josh Allen being able to run, does that give Buffalo the edge?
The one thing I learned about last year is that it's really hard to bet against Joe Burrows. And I kind of feel the same way here. I think that it doesn't matter. I mean, I watched, Joe Burrow's very first game was against the Eagles, 2-3 years ago at this point now. And he had no offensive line. He got sacked 8 times, and he would get up and brush it off and just keep on going. And they played to a tie. We tied that game. I feel that he is, as funny as this sounds, the more mature quarterback in this matchup. I think that Allen is a great quarterback, but he's got a little bit of that gunslinger mentality and doesn't mind throwing the bad pass or making a really ridiculous turnover. I think that's in him. And I think that that's where Cincinnati can really take advantage. I feel like Cincinnati's got a little chip on their shoulder. on how this all worked out. The fact that they have to go up to Buffalo for this is really in their crawl a little bit. And I think that it's going to stand out. I don't think Buffalo is going to have they've got a problem on their hands, and they've had a hard time beating Cincinnati. So it wouldn't surprise me to watch Cincinnati win this game. In fact, I have them winning this game.
Wow. So Jim, you played in Buffalo. You were a defensive end there for a few years. What do you think about Cincinnati's offense against Buffalo's defense, Jim?
I think that Cincinnati has an exceptional offense, but the problem is I think Buffalo, in my opinion, has an advantage because they can get after Burrows. And I obviously with the rules like we talked about, they can't disrupt them. Those receivers, the running back are very good, but I think Buffalo is starting to gel a little bit. They're starting to play at a better level. And Josh Allen is going, I agree, he is got some gunslinger mentality, but Josh Allen is a winner. I mean, he is a winner. And Buffalo is a hard place to play. It is a difficult place to play. And so I think the advantage goes to Buffalo there. If it was in Cincinnati, Cincinnati's another hard place to play. But I think it being in Buffalo helps the Bills because they go crazy up there for the Bills. There's nothing else in town other than the Sabres.
Right. So, Jack, what do you think about Jim just brought up Buffalo's offense. What do you think about, them playing against Cincinnati's defense? They got a couple good rushers on the outside there, and some good cornerback play too. Do you think that Cincinnati has an advantage or Buffalo has the advantage?
Any team who has their offensive line decimated the way Cincinnati's is, they're going to have problems. I mean, how are they going to block for Joe Burrow? Are they going to keep their running backs back to block? Then they're going to be sacrificing the running game to an extent. They're going to get worn out. I mean, if Joe Mixon has to continuously block, it's going to affect them running-wise. I'm concerned about Buffalo's secondary. Watching the game against Miami last week, Skylar Thompson looking good. I mean, completing a lot of passes, and, he was mobile. Skylar Thompson eluded their pass rush. But this is the same Skylar Thompson who I saw play twice against the Jets in 1 week before, and he looked like a novice quarterback. Granted, it's hard to throw in Sauce Gardner's in the secondary, but so did they make adjustments, Buffalo secondary, or what? The comparison with Joe Burrow and Josh Allen is really intriguing. I never thought of it until this moment. You could say Joe Burrow is the better quarterback, but Josh Allen's the more spectacular quarterback. He's more likely to make you the big plays, okay?
Yeah.
And I kind of like that in a game like that. It's a big game, a big play quarterback. I take that a little over the consistency factor as long as both guys are fairly consistent. So I'm liking Buffalo in this game. I like them to win the Super Bowl in the beginning of the year. This is a great matchup in Buffalo, but let me say this. It's unfair to Cincinnati. This game's being played in Buffalo.
I agree with that. I agree 100%. I agree with you, Jack, there. But, it is what it is. I agree. It shouldn't have been like that. But unfortunately.
Well, let me ask you this, Jim. Let me ask you this. Psychologically, we don't know what's inside the Bengals players' heads, but the head way Joe Mixon, one of the leaders on the team, is complaining about this. I'm sure a number of guys on the Bengals, when they get off the plane in Buffalo, are sulking. We shouldn't even be here. And I think that tiny bit of negativity, when push comes to shove, could hurt a little.
But you talk about the head coach, Zach Taylor's got to nip that at the bud. Because, hey, this is what we got, fellas. You got to let it go. Let's go play. Let's go win the game.
Yeah, I don't look at it as sulking. I look at it more as the chip on the shoulder. They're making us come up here. There's no reason for us to be up here. Now, we're going to show them who should have won that game the first time around. That's kind of how I would look at it.
There you go. Listen, if I'm Cincinnati, because of that Buffalo rush, I'm throwing some screens. I'm running a draw here and there, maybe a trap. I'm going to get Buffalo. I'm going to use their aggressiveness against them. And I think that's how Cincinnati might be able to win this game, even though I'll be going.
I mean, maybe I haven't been watching the same games as you guys, but I don't look at Buffalo's defensive line as so formidable, like that they're overly, that they've gotten a lot of sacks. This isn't Bruce Smith out there. This is a pedestrian defensive line. This isn't anything.
Without Von Miller, they're not as effective without Von Miller.
Correct. And Von Miller's not been out there. I assume he's going to play today.
No, he's not.
Without him, then they've got a bigger problem. I think that when you compare the two defensive, the defensive line versus the offensive line, that Buffalo edge, but not so tremendously, not so tremendous that I'm worried about how Joe Burrows is going to be running for his life. I don't think that Buffalo's got that type of defensive line.
Well, the best player on Buffalo's defensive line is Ed Oliver, and he's an interior guy. They're going to have to block Ed Oliver because he's going to make plays. He is a good. The outside guys are okay, but they're not Von Miller. They don't have it. That's why they went and got Von Miller. So that's going to be it. But Micah Hyde will be back. They do have some good secondary guys. Great ones? No, they don't have any. But they do play, and Leslie does a good job of disguising. I think he does a good job in McDermott.
I think even without Von Miller, Buffalo is going to be very aggressive. They got to try to get out Burrow. They got to try and knock him down, and that's
Von
why
Miller's been out a while. He's not a factor in this game. He's been out a while.
We didn't say that.
We didn't say that.
We didn't say that. We said he's not playing.
That sun is starting to hit you.
No. It's him, Von Miller. He's not. He's not in.
We said that. We said that, Jack.
The weather too. How much of a factor could it be? Because Cincinnati's had brutal weather for their home games as well.
That's not going to be a big
factor.
factor.
Bengals coming to Buffalo because they're used to playing in terrible conditions.
It's not going to be a big factor to that, I wouldn't think, because Cincinnati, obviously, Western New York is closer to Ohio than it is to New York City. So I don't think it'll make a difference.
So Dallas to San Francisco is the second game. Let's take a quick look at that. What are you looking at, Pags? You got the Dallas offense against the San Francisco defense, which is one of the best in the league. But Dallas is coming through. I mean, lately they've been putting up some points. Lamb looks good. Dak, of course, looks good. Who do you give the edge to, Dallas or San Francisco? Their Dallas offense, San Francisco defense.
Today is going to be, can you stop Bosa? That's going to be the biggest deal on San Francisco's got a good defense in general, but it works behind Bosa. And if they can hold Bosa, contain him and run the offense away from him or around him, then they might have a shot. It's going to be a big deal. He's the big problem on that defense. And as we get further and further in the playoffs, I begin to wonder when you saw it a little bit. Brock Purdy, he didn't have that interception that may have caused the downturn, but I feel like he is one misstep away from maybe falling apart. And it didn't happen last week because I think that he had seen now the Seahawks 3 times. So there, even though he didn't play in the first game, he was, he saw kind of what he had in front of him. This is going to be a different type of situation. And now you've got the hype of a rivalry between the 49ers and the Cowboys as well. I think that there's a number of storylines that could really play a part in this game completely that edges a little bit toward.
Okay. Jack, I mean, what's your opinion? Do you think as far as the defense of Dallas against San Francisco's offense, who are you giving the edge to? Do you give it the edge to the running game of San Francisco or do you give it to Dallas with their defensive
I
line?
mean, I hate to say one unit's better than the other unit, but I will say this. Brock Purdy was struggling a bit against Seattle last week, especially in the first half. He's strictly a game manager, very mobile, can run around, can move, can get out of trouble. He's been one of the great stories in the NFL this year, and I think he has a very good future moving forward. But with that said, if Dallas can keep him in the pocket, Brock Purdy is not going to beat you today if you're Dallas. You just hope if you're the 49ers, he manages the game. You know that the 49ers defense plays up the standards. He uses McCaffrey, Samuel, and all in the rest. And I just something about this game. I think it's more the Dallas offense against the 49er defense. I think Dak Prescott can win you the game, especially the way he is going to utilize Dalton Schultz. Tony Pollard, to me, should be the number one back in the Cowboys. Enough's enough with Ezekiel Elliott. We've had enough evidence. It's fine for Ezekiel to be in the backup role to block a little more because Tony Pollard is the better running back at this point. And I think that's...
And he's getting more carries, though. He is getting...
Yeah, but the perception is that Ezekiel is the man and this and that. But the game plan, I think that Dak Prescott can keep the game plan tight. The running game, a lot of short passes, and then hit, Lamb on something, a bit longer. And I just seeing Micah Parsons running after Brock Purdy there. This isn't Seattle. This is like a different animal. And I think the Niners might be in for a rude awakening today. And then Philadelphia, here we come. Okay.
Wow. Jim, you played defensive end. What for Dallas and for Buffalo? What is Buffalo got to do to slow down the Dallas rush? Do they chip them at the line of scrimmage? Do they run at them to slow them down? What do they do to stop that rush?
They're going to have to do something. I tell you what, people don't ever talk about it, but Kittle's a pretty good blocker, and he does that. He chips them on his way out, and they're going to have to do that. They're going to have to, Jack brings the point, they got to contain Purdy and make sure that he's in the pocket and make him. But here's the interesting thing. Purdy's percentages, if his receivers are separated more than 3 yards from the defensive back, then Purdy's real successful. But if they're tighter within 2 yards, Purdy struggles. And that's interesting. And most of the plays Purdy makes are out of the pocket, if you notice that about him. I went and watched every game. And another thing that's interesting is the chess match is obviously between Dan Quinn and Shanahan. Yeah. They work together, and Dan Quinn, they work together and were in the Super Bowl in Atlanta. And Dan has coached both at San Francisco and Dallas now. And that makes a difference. He kind of understands. I talked to him Friday, and he understands the significance of this and what he has to do to help his team win.
The other thing that I notice a lot with San Francisco is that receivers are good blockers.
Yes.
And they do a lot of things on the perimeters as they get closer to the sidelines. And the cornerbacks of Dallas are going to need to shed those blocks to be able to contain the outsides. That when you have Ayuk, that's one thing that Ayuk never gets any credit for, but he's always blocking for Samuel. Deebo Samuel, as he goes on the outside, Ayuk is the reason why he's able to block and contain and push off. And the Dallas cornerbacks are going to have to be able to shed those blocks and start containing off and having them run out of bounds, or just pushing them that way rather than then catching that edge. Because if they start catching the edge, that's where the 49ers make the most of their yardage, on the outside perimeters of the offense. So you have to contain them.
I think the biggest key here is Kittle. If Dallas can't stop Kittle, I think San Francisco wins this game. I don't think they have anybody that can match up with him, whether it's size or speed. He has an advantage in both. He owns the middle. He can go deep. I I like San Francisco's chances with Kittle playing. Jeff.
But Mac, this is old Denver zone blocking and how they do things and how they run it. This is his dad. They're doing the things that his dad did back in the 90s. And he obviously they made some tweaks to it. But this is old Denver. If you look at how they block it and how they play it, that's why McCaffrey is so successful in this type of offense. I mean, it's just old Denver zone blocking. And they know it. Better know it.
What about Brett Maher, the Cowboy kicker, missing 4 extra points in a row? I mean, he's going to be under the microscope today. If he misses his first kick, they've got to get him going. I mean, imagine Dallas scores a touchdown and he misses the extra point. I mean, what does that do exactly?
I'm sure it messes, but I don't think he'll miss him. I really don't. He was Friday, he was 6-6 in the win. It was a win here in Dallas between 15 and 20, and he made every one of them. He made every one of his field goals. And you got to remember, this guy hit, 10 over 50 yards. He had a bad day. There's nothing you can do about it. Let it go. Move on.
Yes, Jim. Some comments real quick. Pickles thinks Dallas has got to rattle the Purdy cage early off, and everybody's playing with the Purdy board there. I don't know what's going on here with every time Pags is on.
Oh, my goodness.
Melissa Beebe's all over.
Wait, what's going on here?
Yeah, that's what I want to know, Pags.
My fan club.
Pags.
And actually, she's my hairdresser.
Well, see, there you go. You tell her all your secrets, Pags, like everybody else does sitting in that chair.
Hey, listen. Those are one of those people you don't ever lie to. You don't lie to your doctor. You don't lie to your lawyer. You don't lie to your hairdresser.
That's true.
Pags,
I bet you guys have to worry for hair than you guys combined.
Okay.
Pags, if the Cowboys are playing next week at Philadelphia, if they beat the Niners, okay, and the Cowboys invite some of their legendary players and all sitting together like Jim, do the Eagle fans treat them with respect or what? How do they treat the Cowboy delegation at the game?
Oh, I mean, they showed Eli Manning. They welcomed Eli Manning back yesterday to Lincoln Financial Field, and we gave him a very nice cheer.
They did. I saw that. Melissa's coming back at you, Paz, with Get the Roots. And Jim, look at this.
Oh, my goodness.
I don't have to say any more, do I?
Do you need to go, Pags?
I'm good right now. Thank you.
So, Pags doing something on the side there. I don't know what's going on there.
It's more than haircuts.
You said
I'm
you're
a
moving.
single guy, am I not?
Yes. Pags saying he's moving, and we find out what's really going on over there anyway. So let's start getting to our picks, guys. Cincinnati versus Buffalo in Buffalo at 3 p.m. We've already said Cincinnati's banged up. Yeah. Cincinnati's already banged up. We have the Hamlin. He's probably not going to be there, so his impact won't be that much. We broke down the defense versus the offenses. With all that being said, Jack, what do you got?
I mean, when you pick a team to win the Super Bowl in the beginning of the year, I mean, you don't back off unless there's a reason to. And I like Buffalo in this game. It's being played at Buffalo. So I don't know. You like my pick, right?
Oh, my goodness.
Let's go.
No, we got an underlying tone here. We're not laughing at your pick, Jack.
Although
we could most of the year. We could most of the year.
This is a football show. You want to know about
Jack. All's fair in love and football, Jack. Okay, so I think you're going with Buffalo, right, Jack? Is that what you said?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in Buffalo, I'm going to tell you this. You talk about teams' windows, okay?
Right.
And Buffalo's window, I hate to say it, is closing. Maybe one more year after this year. No, I'm going to tell you why. Because they're new kids on the block, like the Jacksonville Jaguars, teams that are coming up. The Chargers have the potential to make a serious run. So when you have the opportunity to get there, you better do it. The windows don't last forever. That's why what the Chiefs have done these last 5 years have been remarkable, being in the AFC Championship game. Teams normally don't have that big of a window because then they kind of, with the salary cap, they fall back. They have to reboot. It's hard to get to where you are. You can't take it for granted. This is the Bills' year that they better take advantage and finally win their first Super Bowl.
So with that pick, Melissa's saying, "Sorry, Jamie, what happened? I mean, did we ruin what's going on?"
Because you guys are trying to make a joke of all this. So she was
looking out for me. We have to find out who she's picking in Buffalo and Cincinnati.
Yeah. Who do you got, Melissa? We're going to give you a pick here. Who do you like, Buffalo or Cincinnati? And you were just fooling around, Melissa. That's all.
Yeah.
26-20 Buffalo. I'll give an exact score.
All right. Jack comes in with 26-20. What do you got? Jim? Buffalo?
I'm going with Buffalo. I think Cincinnati's going to play hard, and they do have a chip on their shoulder. But I just think Buffalo has a little bit more than Cincinnati. And I think the thing you got to realize is we all talk about Diggs, but there are other two receivers. Davis makes a lot of plays. I'm not sure the name of the other one, and then Dawson Knox. And I think we talk about tight ends. He is a tough cover. So I think they'll got to help him get over. And Melissa picked Buffalo.
Melissa goes with Buffalo too. I think that's against Jamie. Jamie, don't you got Cincinnati?
Yeah, yes.
I am going Cincinnati. I think Cincinnati, like I said, has that chip on their shoulder. And Buffalo's had a hard time with Cincinnati. They haven't been able to really beat them. So it's like until you can get over that hump, I don't believe that they can do it. So I got Cincinnati here, and I have them 27-23.
Okay. All right. I'll take Buffalo. I'm not saying anything about that comment. So, all right. So let's push on to Dallas. Dallas against San Francisco. That's at 6 p.m. They're playing in San Francisco. I think that's important. Cowboys, we already broke down the game. Two good defenses. Dallas may have a little edge at offense and passing, but I think San Francisco has a big advantage in the running game. Jamie, who you got? I know you want Dallas to win, but who do you really think is going to win?
The more I think about this, and I'm going back just on the basis of the NFC East has been the best division in football all year long. And even though Dallas has not had, Dallas has had a pretty good season. They were number one in the power rankings for a little while, even after losing certain games. And I think that the 49ers, when it came down to it, had the softer of. It's going to be an interesting day. I think the quarterback play is going to play a lot. I actually think Dallas comes with the upset and beats the 49ers here. And I think it's going to be the exact same score, 27-23.
Wow. Okay. And Pickles rarely agrees with Pags. He agrees with him today. So he's picking the Cowboys 31-27. Jim, I know Dallas is your team.
Yeah, but here's what happened. If you remember the game last year, it was 23-17. And do we remember the ending of the game? That's when Dak messed up on spiking the ball because they had an opportunity. They were in the red zone at that time.
Yeah.
So they had an opportunity. I think it's going to be a similar game. It'll be a 24-17 game, something like that. I think it's going to be a similar game. The things that Dallas has to do well is run the ball, and that'll set up the play action. And that's going to be big against San Francisco's defense. And if you look at San Francisco, I think someone mentioned it about Kansas City. Kansas City scored 44 points on them. But let's look in the later in the season, the Raiders. The Raiders scored 31 points. They beat them 34-31. That's more significant to me than even the Kansas City game. And that's telling me something. I think You got McCaffrey, you got Debo Sanders, Ayuk, but they're tough, but you face good receivers every week and good running backs. And I think the Cowboys will win, like I said, 24-17.
All right, Jim is with Dallas. I thought he would be. So we got Melissa saying Dallas is going all the way. Pags?
Oh, shoot.
Yeah, they said for today. She's that for today.
All right, okay.
Let me just say something about what Jim mentioned about that play last year in the playoffs with Dak Prescott. People talk like it cost Dallas the game. Let's say they stopped the clock and he could run one more play. What were they on the 15-yard line?
Yes.
It gave them a shot at winning the game, but they probably wouldn't have. You know
that,
you never know.
I'm not saying, but you don't know that.
We don't know, but let's not talk like it cost them the game. Okay? It didn't cost them. And the game was at Dallas, too. So they should have taken kind of care of business. But with today's game, you know what the 49ers remind me of? They remind me, let me use a boxing analogy. They remind me of a fighter who has a long run of knockouts against weaker opposition. And that's what the Niners have been doing. Who have they been beating? Big deal. They're beating up on the Arizona Cardinals. They get a win over the Raiders. They beat the New Orleans Saints. I mean, I don't want to hear those teams are capable.
Yeah.
And that's what they've kind of been building a reputation on. The last time they met an elite team, they got trounced by the Chiefs.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it kind of reminds me of. Now they're meeting a really top-of-the-line team in the Cowboys. I mean, and how are they going to respond? It's going to be a whole different game for them. They're not just going to roll over, a team like the Cowboys. They're going to have to be battle-tested. I like Dallas in this game.
Wow.
I think they're going to be able to run the ball. I think Dallas is going to have a big game. Dak is going to be, hitting Dalton Schultz. And I just feel the Dallas defense is going to respond. I mean, they're not going to get beat by a Mr. Irrelevant, a 7th-round draft pick. I mean, Purdy's been a great story. If I'm the Niners, I let him come to training camp next year and compete with Trey Lance for the starting job.
Stop with Trey Lance. Trey Lance stinks. Stop with Trey Lance. He stinks, period. Enough with Trey Lance.
Your comments were well written down, but Melissa says Dallas all the way.
Yes, he did. Yes,
all the way to, wow.
Yeah.
Well,
so anyway,
they beat Philly next week. I mean,
guys, listen, I'm on Melissa's. Hey, I'm on her train, and I'm riding with her.
All right, okay. So listen, guys, I think San Francisco is going to beat Dallas. They got a better running game. They're going to control the ball. They're gonna put pressure on Dak. They're gonna to make him make mistakes. I like San Francisco here. By it's going to be a close game, but I think they're going to wear down Dallas Cowboys over the game. I mean, you got to try to stop two of the most prolific running backs in the game right now. One that's got great moves and one that has a lot of power. How are you going to start at the fourth quarter? Who's going to stop Debo Samuels?
They're more dangerous running. They're more dangerous on screen passes, those guys, than they are running around.
Yeah, and
just because of what Jack said, the receivers, how they block, they are dangerous on screen plays. I would agree.
Yeah.
Yes. So anyway, Melissa's correct in saying just today. So there you go. So that's Melissa has
our relationship changed now.
So Jim is breaking up with Melissa. Lance, Greg, my buddy here says that Lance is going to be the 2023 MVP. Greg, he can't get on the field, Greg. I mean, I'm sorry. The guy gets
If you're
hurt.
the Niners, do you with the Jets, do you make a flip-flop deal? I mean, it would make sense if both teams are looking to move on Trey Lance for Zach Wilson. Does that make sense to you, a deal like that? Trey Lance comes in maybe as a backup for the Jets or something, or
Jack is always trying to get a quarterback for the Jets. That's Jack's.
No, I'm just speculating. Does that make sense?
You know what? Melissa's got some good. I like Melissa. You hear? You see what she?
Yes.
Yeah,
She
I'll
said-
wait till I tell you she's a Bears fan.
Oh,
That's
wow.
fine. That's fine.
Justin Fields, good quarterback, Melissa. Good quarterback. He's going to be around for a while. Okay, we've got the Bills and the Bengals. Of course, we broke down this game before too. Oh, what? We already picked. We're done, guys. Look at that.
Oh,
So,
shoot.
holy
Next,
cow!
we're going to be with the draft. The next thing we know, the Eagles go what? Number 5 overall. Where do they
10.
go, Pax?
Yeah.
10?
10.
Oh,
Yeah, we have the Saints pick.
Wait. Their pick slipped the Eagles when they lost to the Saints. Had they beaten the Saints, that would have helped their draft pick a lot, right?
Yeah, it really would. I think it would have only put him like 8.
Yeah.
Oh, that okay.
So Melissa, I don't know. Pags is still sitting back there. He looks pretty. I don't know what's up with Pags.
Let me ask you this, Pags. With the Giant year they had this year, going forward, do you now consider the Giants a serious threat to the Eagles come next year? That these guys next year are going to be,
Not yet. Not yet. They got to have a pretty good draft. They have holes that are definitely need to get filled. And I think that you saw that was, kind of the same way that Sirianni went up against Tampa Bay last year. Debo, whatever his name is, had a very similar thing up against Sirianni. He's got to take this and learn a lot. He has to learn a lot.
Right. So, folks, that's about it for the show. I want to thank everybody for coming in. I mean, all the loves,
Yeah. We got a lot of love going on today.
the likes, the views. Melissa, welcome to the show. It's great having you on today.
It was great having you, Melissa.
Greg, love having you on. My buddy there, Pickles, always a pleasure. We have so many people that join us for the Big Football Show, and I just don't want it to end, but it's going to end here pretty soon. We'll start be doing This Week in Sports. Will be coming up after that, which we will be covering the NFL too, just not as in depth as we have this year. So again, guys, thank you for coming in and having and enjoying the show with us. Have a great Sunday, as Melissa says, and I hope your team wins. Have a great day, folks.
Have a great day, guys.
Take care.